We spent like, I think it was, what, 4 hours planning this first. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Clever Creator Podcast. We are stoked for today's episode. We're going to do something a little more unique this time. We want to be able to have you guys. We get a lot of questions in our DMs and stuff, and so a lot of you guys are asking us about our origin stories and how we got started and how you can do something similar. So today we've got Tenneson, and we're going to do focus on just Tennesson's story. So I'm going to turn the mic over to him, and he's just going to tell us everything about how we got from where he was to where he is now.
Sweet, yeah. I actually, believe it or not, don't love talking about myself. We scheduled this in our schedule because, and Dan will tell his story in a couple episodes too. But we scheduled this because I felt like we had to.
Yeah.
But I mean, my story is, everyone will have a story a lot like mine. But I'll say this, and I think a lot of people can say this too. I didn't have a goal of being a wedding videographer. It's not something I really wanted to do. But things changed, and it's all about being willing to pivot.
Well, so how did you get started then? If your original goal wasn't to be a wedding videographer, what was the original goal?
I honestly didn't really have a goal of being anything videographer-ish. And even when I did, which I'll talk about, I still didn't have a plan of being a wedding videographer. I think I started out wanting to do real estate. I think a lot of guys do, actually. People in video, it's just real estate videos look so good.
They're easy to do in
and
some
they're
ways.
not that hard to make. That's what I wanted to do, but I didn't ever gain the traction with that. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But a lot of people who started out in this didn't mean to start video at all. So, but my story kind of starts in, I guess we start in 2019. So
Galaxy far, far away.
far, far away now. Like 6 years ago. It's crazy. I wasn't filming in 2019. However, I had always had kind of an affinity, even through high school, for creative things and filming, like on like old camcorders with like the tapes. Yeah. those old days, old school days. I was so out of touch, actually, that in 2019, I actually didn't know that DSLR cameras were capable of shooting video.
Whoa.
I was like, I was total noob. I didn't really even know settings. I always kind of had an affinity for film, even though I never really got into it.
Yeah.
So, but in 2019, I was in college, and in March of 2019, I got engaged to Abby, who's now my wife. So my wife, Abby, we had to go different ways for a little bit. We got engaged in March, and I did summer sales for the summer of 2019 in Southern California. Hot, buggy Southern California. I was out there trying to sell pest control, and it was a pain. It was hot and mucky, and there was a black widow infestation the year I went, so
Ooh.
I almost got bit a few times. What's stupid is like with black widows, you like reach down there, you pluck their webs, and then they come out running at you, and you step on them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's creepy.
Dude.
Anyways,
Real life Spider-Man here.
Yeah. So, death to spiders.
Yeah.
But again, I didn't enjoy it. It was brutal. And I didn't make as much money as I wanted to. And so I came home a little bit earlier, like August time. So my fellow salesmen were still selling. My wife was living in Utah, and I got a job as a jewelry salesman. This is where things kind of started to change a little bit, because now I was exposed a little bit to the wedding industry. People were coming in. This was in Rexburg, Idaho, so people were getting married, like getting engaged, and then 2 weeks later coming in to get a ring, or get dating, and then like a month later coming in to get a ring. I'm like, just barely know each other, but whatever.
We move pretty fast in this faith.
The college in Rexburg is called BYUI, which has been aptly named BYU I Do, just because so many students get married very young and very fast. But I was exposed to the wedding world indirectly, and I began to sell wedding rings and other pieces of jewelry associated with love. And during this time, November of 2019, I got married. Awesome experience. I almost didn't hire a videographer, but my mom said you have to, so I did. I paid $500, And it was a decent video.
Yeah.
But now I know what I know. I wish I'd paid more for someone who even could pass that, like who would have done better.
Right.
Still, it's great. Everything went perfect about it. COVID hits then, like right around the turn of the year. COVID just destroys us. And I got laid off from my jewelry job. Turns out jewelry is just a non-essential business when it comes to the COVID determining factor.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So we all got laid off. And then 3 days later, my sister, who was supposed to get married in the LDS temple near us, temple canceled on her because of COVID. So she got married in our living room at my parents' house. My dad handed me a camera. I think it was like a Canon 7D Mark II or something. Something from many ages past now. No one's using that camera anymore. I don't even think anyone was using it then. But
Fossil.
I was like, wow, this camera actually shoots video. What the heck? So I helped shoot this video with my dad. My dad and I produced it. My dad kind of did more of the editing than I did, but video came out and it was bad. It was really bad. And like, I knew that it was bad at the time, even having no education. I'm like, this is not very good.
Really?
But I didn't really understand, why is it bad? What rules is it breaking? Why is it not appealing to me? I didn't understand that.
So was it personal critique or just, like you said, just a sense of?
It was a sense of, I could tell that it was a decent video for being done in our house with two people who don't know how to shoot video. But I knew that it was like, okay, this is pretty subpar compared to what it could be. Gotcha. I didn't understand why though. Okay. But I filmed nonetheless. We produced it. It was bad. And several weeks later, still hadn't been brought back onto my job. We got stimulus checks from the government. Some of you will remember that. It was awesome. All this money for the first time in my life. I had some serious cash. To me, it was serious cash. And I was worried because I didn't have employment at the time. And so I stayed up one night, I couldn't sleep. And so I was scrolling on my phone and I came across a guy named Parker Walbeck on my feed. He was filming about drones and real estate. That caught me. I was like, hey, that's so easy. I've never owned a drone before, but like, how hard can it be? So before the night was over, and without talking to my wife, I bought a $250 drone and several more batteries to go with it. And I think I bought like some cheap piece of education for it as well. It wasn't Parker Walbeck's stuff, but anyway, so I got it a few days later. My wife she wasn't annoyed, but she rolled her eyes several times at me.
Take note here, guys. Always check with the wife first.
So I'm filming like, it's okay stuff. But like, if I'm going to do real estate, people are going to expect me to do stuff on the ground too.
Right.
So I'm like, I have to have a camera.
Oh, of course.
So I told my wife, I'm like, hey, and I have to have someone teach me how to use the camera.
And this was like flip phone area anyways.
Well, not that bad. I had a smartphone.
Okay.
I had an iPhone XR or something. Anyways.
No Nokia brick.
No Nokia bricks. But the drone was pretty bad.
Yeah.
I knew I needed to upgrade my drone, but I also knew I needed a camera on the ground. So I told my wife, I'm like, hey, I'd like to spend $2,000 of our money to buy a camera, a lens, a tripod, and a few other little things, and the education, which at the time was FullTime Filmmaker. If you guys haven't checked FullTime Filmmaker out, it is still running. It is run by a guy named Landon, by the way. He's doing a fabulous job with it. Yeah. I highly recommend you go check it out. We'll drop a link.
It's the number one film school replacement course in the world.
Dan and I both are where we are because of FullTime Filmmaker, in large part.
And it's a little bit of investment, but if you find it like on a Black Friday or something, they're usually running like a half off.
Yeah, and even if it's not, it is absolutely worth the investment because you can't get started without knowing how to do it. Yeah. It's the YouTube University problem over again.
Well, let me give you one more plug for them too. They now have a $27 starter course where it's like 15 and they're like prime. So like you have no excuse.
Yeah.
It's $27, guys.
I bought the $27 course even though I already had the full course.
I did too.
Or actually, I think maybe included. It doesn't matter. I had it, and I was like, hey, this is actually pretty good for someone who has no idea and has no money. That's a great way to go.
Right, and it's super affordable.
I didn't. I bought the full thing when I started. So my wife was like, okay, but you need to make your money back. I'm like, that's fine. That's fine.
Also, just so you guys know, this video is not sponsored by FullTime Filmmaker. We just love the product.
Yet.
Yeah. Landon, we're looking at you.
Anyways, so I got my camera. It was a Canon SL3. Nice. It was a piece of crap. But it did what I needed it to, right? It shot 4K technically, but I used it for 1080 because it wasn't a good camera for 4K.
Right.
But it did what it is. And I used it to film everything I could think of. This is the key, I think, that separates me from someone who wanted to succeed for someone who has started succeeding. Is early on, I was very, very set on my goal. So I went out and filmed everything I could think of. My wife was like the star of a show for like 4 weeks just because she was the closest person to me during COVID. So I filmed her in every way possible. I filmed like Red Bull cans and trees and
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola. It was a little later, but yeah, I filmed some fun ones. But yeah, I mean, it was stupid stuff, but I learned. I'd go out and I'd shoot and I'd come back to Full-Time Filmmaker. Okay, I didn't do this right. Let me go out and do it again. I was putting in 40 hours a week. Dang. And I failed most
practice.
Yes. And actually, I failed most of my classes during that semester because I wasn't doing the work. I failed like 3 classes. But I didn't care because I was learning and I was growing.
So you had a vision and a plan.
Yes. So I did that for like a couple months, just intense. Go. So eventually I got back onto the jewelry store. They brought us all back, and I'm working there, and one of my friends comes in. Remember, not into weddings. I told myself I'm not doing weddings. I want to do real estate.
Yeah.
I hadn't done a single real estate thing by that point.
but you wanted to.
But I wanted to.
You knew where you were going.
I knew where I was going. But one of my friends came in and was like, hey, I need like a wedding band for my soon-to-be husband. I was like, I didn't know you were getting married. And it was my friend. So we chatted up for a little bit. And out of my mouth, unprompted, comes, can I shoot a wedding video for you? Stupidest thing.
I could just see it. One of those moments where you're like,
I was like, yep, nope, got to follow through with it now.
Yeah.
And her name was Chelsea. She's awesome. Yeah, she and her husband are super, super fun people. But she was, of course, was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I was like, I'm not going to charge you. Like, I haven't done a wedding video yet. Disclaimer, have not shot a wedding yet. Even though I technically had with my sister, I didn't count that one. So she's like, yeah, absolutely. So this was in like end of July, I think. Yeah, it was sometime in July. And I went out and shot her wedding. It was at a campsite. I borrowed my dad's camera to have a second angle for the ceremony. And I bought an audio device, like the Zoom H1N, I think, so I could capture good audio. Yeah, and a couple extra batteries, and I was good to go. I don't think I even had a gimbal at this point. I was rocking the Flycam Red King.
Dang.
Not even a glide cam, like a cheap knockoff. Well, not a cheap knockoff, but
going true
still
Devin
$200. Yeah. Anyways, it came out to be a pretty decent video. I was like, hey, this actually looks really good. And I was really proud of myself. I'm like, hey, that looks really, really good. So my parents saw the video. And my sister, if you don't know LDS culture very well, there's getting married and then there's being sealed. They can happen in the same event, but they don't have to. And with COVID, this temple actually closed, which is where you get sealed. And so they had to get sealed still. So in August, they scheduled their sealing when the temple opened back up.
Gotcha.
So I was excited to be a guest. My dad said, hey, I'll pay you $350. Right? So last one I filmed for free.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting paid $350.
Good for you.
And I think he may have also promised me a computer part or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, or two, because I needed a computer. Anyway, so I filmed my sister's wedding again. So I got to film my sister's wedding twice. Woohoo. Yeah, and the second one was much better. The second time was much, much, much better. So the photographer I worked with at that wedding, her name was Lizzie. She currently is the owner of Love and Story Studio.
What I'm thinking of.
Yeah. She and Sadie, I think, run the show down there, and they're fabulous. They're really, really good to work with. Yeah. Anyway, she saw the video and she's like, hey, I really like this stuff. So now I had a connection. Starting to build without meaning to. Again, never advertised shooting weddings.
Right.
But now I had 2 weddings under my belt and a photographer that loved my work.
Dude.
And then I had a neighbor that got married.
Oh, snap.
So, and my mom was like, hey, my son does wedding videos.
Of course.
Getting advertised
of course, Mom.
Of course. Thanks, Mom. I actually was very happy about it because, again, hurting for money. So I charged them I think $350.
Yeah, and if you're hurting for money, you
do what you got to do.
You take it.
Yeah, you do what you got to do. And honestly, we're going to talk about this next episode, but everyone in the creative industry, especially photographers, videographers, should do a wedding at some point, or at least shadow one.
I agree.
You need to understand because it's a massive part of photography, videography, and other creatives like florists. That's huge. Planning, design.
Well, you also understand the chaos. Yeah. Like having done real estate first and then doing weddings, and now I do events and sports and stuff too.
Yeah.
Still realize that there's no such kind of chaos like the chaos at a wedding.
Oh, yeah.
It goes so
Weddings
fast.
are crazy. Some weddings are harder than others, but if you've never shot one before, if you're a photographer, or if you've never done florals for one or designed, you're in for a wild ride your first couple times.
Well, and I feel like it prepped me, not to take away from the story, but I feel like it prepped me to be able to do events and sports later on. Because now I understand that's not even as fast as weddings.
And it definitely helped. It definitely helped me too.
Yeah.
But I filmed my neighbor's wedding.
Okay.
And I borrowed my dad's drone this time, the first time using drone. And it was again another great experience. I met more photographers. Photographer was impressed. Had another photographer, and so I got another one under my belt, and another photographer who was in my corner.
You're just collecting them like Pokemon.
I'm like, yep. So I post that video. It gets seen on social media.
Oh snap!
By one of my other neighbors, actually living in Rexburg.
Freaking domino.
Yeah,
effect.
and so they're like, I posted. I'm like, hey, this is the first time I posted. I'm like, hey, someone wants a wedding video. I'll do it. Just let me know. Here's what I can do. My neighbor sees it and like, hey, we want that. We're getting married in, I'm like a month. So this is November. So I shot their wedding. And again, great experience. Shot it with another photographer. Had another photographer that was working with me.
Because you posted it on social.
I posted on social.
Yeah.
And then I posted this one on social. And I posted like a cinematic teaser. The cinematic teaser was caught by one of my friends. Still 2020.
Seems sort of a pattern here.
So we've got Chelsea, and then I've got the next one, my sister. Then the next one, I won't name them because they've got some things I can't talk about. But I got them, and then I have Adam, I think and then I have my new friend Amethyst, filmed at the Ice Palace in LaBelle Lake. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Amazing shoot. It was super fun. Did it for almost free just because she was my friend.
Yeah.
Anyway, so now I have 2020 is over by this point. I have 5 weddings under my belt.
Not bad for starting.
Yeah. Especially with no intention of ever shooting weddings.
You're not even actively trying to get them.
Yeah, absolutely. So at this point, I'm like, okay, obviously I have some stuff under my belt. I better pivot from what I wanted to do. Learning to pivot, I pivoted.
Wanted to do real estate.
I wanted to do real estate. Still at this point had not shot a single real estate. Didn't even own an apt drone. Like I had my old drone, like I sold it because it was so crap.
Yeah.
I didn't have a drone at this point. So yeah.
But you pivoted to weddings.
I pivoted to weddings, and it was not a hard pivot because I already had that stuff. I already had the portfolio for it. So now I'm like, okay, I'm going to start shooting. I'm going to open myself up. I put up my website, and one of my photographer friends hit me up with a wedding, and I did my 6th. And then I got hit from someone on the other side of the state. I don't even know how they found me. I still don't know. But I went out in the middle of nowhere, Idaho, for like $700 and filmed this little tiny elopement with some family and friends. Anyways, it just kept going and going and going. I kept getting leads from photographers and family members, and it just kept going. So I filmed 10 weddings in 2021. I learned 2021 was a hard year for me because I had some big fails. I had some really big fails. Just little mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. And it hurts because you're a vendor and you have a reputation. After a while, you get proud of your work and you mess something up. You're like, oh, that really hurts.
Yeah.
But I came back from it. I bounced back. I pivoted. I learned how to fix what was going on. We talked about this last episode. So learn to
the failure debrief.
Learn how to fix the problem that you're having. Don't just plow through it. 2021 came and went. 10 weddings. My average charge price throughout the year was like $900. At the end of 2021, one of my last weddings in September, I went over to McCall, Idaho, which is a beautiful, beautiful area. And I filmed this wedding for a couple. Their names Hannah and Trey. They were great. So I've been doing this for just a little over a year now, and this wedding film was above the rest. It was a cut above. I filmed it differently. I did different music than usual. I kind of changed a little bit, and it was super cinematic.
Did you change your style or anything?
Yeah, it came out really, really, really good. I'm like, okay, great. And I charged them maybe $1,000. I think I charged her $1,000 for this. Yeah. Anyways, and so it was travel included. I'm on the other side of the state. It's like 6 hours drive up there for me.
This is after what, 15 weddings at this point?
Yeah. Well, this was like wedding number 14 or something.
Okay.
So in like a little less than a year, right? So or a little over a year.
I'm just saying, like, you've done some at this point where some people might say like, oh, I can go straight to grand. It's like, no, you did like 15 weddings.
I did a ton under $1,000 before. I think I did at least my first like 10 weddings were under $1,000. This girl booked me before I would have charged her more if she charged me closer to her date.
Yeah.
Or if she had found me closer to her date.
Okay.
But anyways.
Yeah.
So this video was different. It just hit different. So I took it and ran with it. I posted it, put it on the main page of my website. I made it just as big as I could possibly go. I want to note, though, here, I was neglecting social media pretty badly at this point. I had a social media page, wasn't pushing it. I had a website, wasn't pushing it, just had it available. That's a big mistake I made. That's hurt me badly. The other thing I did is I didn't ask for reviews. So I still have very few reviews because it's been so long. I've emailed some of my past clients. I just don't get them back.
Yeah.
Just because it's been so long.
I'm finding that's a whole nother beast beyond social
It
media.
is. And again, learn from my mistake. Ask for reviews from the beginning. If you think you did a very poor job and the client's not happy, ask for feedback.
Yeah.
Because you don't want them leaving a review.
Yeah. You don't
And
want
I've had some of those too. I'm like, I'm grateful they didn't leave me a review because I didn't do well at theirs. So like, I don't want people to judge me based on that one experience. And everyone's got, as far as I know, everyone's been happy with their video, at least the end product. So,
Right. But I'm just saying, like, you got to treat it separately. Like, there's social media, and then you don't normally think of reviews. Like you're saying, you got to realize it's sort of like a second social media account. You need to be asking every time.
You need to be asking. Anyways, so at this point, it's early 2022. Okay. I'm booked. It's by January of 2022. I already have 10 weddings on my book.
Was this like intentionally trying to get them, or this
was just people coming. I wasn't advertising like on it. Like I wasn't paying. Well, I did a little bit of paid ads. It didn't work so well for me the first time.
Yeah.
But just vendor referrals, connections, mostly 10. Photographers. But I also got some like florists and DJs, and I did have one planner. Anyways, but
already booked 10.
Already booked 10 by January 1st of 2022. I'd already had 10 on the books for 2022.
Dang.
Much more. That was the same amount I had done for 2021.
Yeah.
So, and I had this Hannah and Trey wedding. This is significant because I was my 2022s. I was like average charging like $1,500 or $1,400 or something like that. And at this point, I knew that I needed to increase. I was worried that I was going to hit a rut, and I kind of did. So like April-ish of 2022, I was like, hey, things aren't happening so well. So I dove back into education, started bringing on like coaching calls into my system. I started asking back the big FTF. People. So one of the people I had, and this wasn't even a coaching call. This was a Matt Johnson. We'll link his profile.
Yeah.
Big wedding guy.
Good guy.
He was doing something with, I think, Forestry Films. It was a combined thing, and they were reviewing people's wedding films. I submitted mine and they reviewed it. I submitted Hannah and Trey.
Cool.
They reviewed it. They said, hey, this is awesome stuff. Like, we really, really like this. The audio's clean. It was good. They had a lot of good stuff to say about it. And I was like, hey, this is awesome. And at the end,
you're just expecting to get wrecked.
At the end, they're like, how much did you charge for this? And I put in about $1,000. And they're like, really?
Oh.
You charged $1,000 for that? And I was like, oh boy, I overcharged them.
Oh yeah.
But that's not how I was like, crap, they're gonna rake me over the coals, but they didn't. So Matt Johnson came in and he said, Tenneson, this is a $5,000 wedding film.
No way.
And my little brain blew up because again, I didn't know I could charge that.
Oh yeah.
Like for my knowledge at the time, I was like, no, that's like Jake Weisler, that's like Nate, I don't even know who was doing weddings at the time, but like that's their level. That's what they can do. I can't do that.
And that was what, year 3 for you? 2 or 3?
Yeah, so it was, I mean, if we count 2020 is my first season, or I kind of count 2021 as my first season because I was my learning before. Let's say I was in the business for like almost 2 years at this point.
Dang.
About 2 years. Anyways, so I learned quickly. I'm like, and you know, the other guy on there, he was like, hey, yeah, like this is actually like $7,000. And Matt told me too, and this kind of changed my mindset a little bit, he's like, I wouldn't pay $5,000 for a wedding video, but I'm not my client.
Oh, yeah.
And that told me, oh my gosh, there's a whole nother class of clients out here who don't care about that. They don't care so much about the money. They have money. They're willing to pay what it takes to get someone good. Anyways.
Worry about quality.
Yeah. So that felt really, really good to me.
I bet.
I had other coaching calls with other people, but that was a significant one for me. Yeah. And it wasn't even a coaching call.
Dude, good for you.
Yeah. So 2022 came and went, and I kind of pivoted a little bit. By the end of 2022, I had charged my biggest wedding yet, which was like $2,400. I went all out for it.
Oh, of course.
But yeah, it was, yeah.
I feel like whenever you get your highest paying, that's the one where you put a whole 110% into it.
Yeah, I put a ton into it. It was awesome. It was a big elopement. It was really a micro wedding, but it was huge.
Yeah.
Right. So I actually did another one too. It was 2,200 right next to it. I don't talk about it as much, but 2 big weddings.
Yeah.
Right there. Just awesome, awesome weddings for me.
Good for you.
2023 comes. And I want to make a note here. So during this time, Jake Weisler was working for a full-time filmmaker.
Cool guy.
Yeah. And things were happening in the program that had gotten me started. Things were moving.
Yeah.
He steps back and he starts his own thing with a guy named Nate Tehan called Runaway Vows. We'll link to them too. I will talk about them all the time because I love them to death.
They're freaking amazing, dude.
I love them. They are so incredible. They're incredible human beings too, not just incredible filmmakers.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, awesome dudes.
Yeah, they're incredible. But they launched their first educational stuff after that, right? They launched. I think they're calling it year 1 now, but it was named something different back then. It's still in progression. Wonderful program. I bought it. I still use it.
Yeah.
They talk about things in a really simple term, but it works.
Well, also some of like the small things you wouldn't think about, like just little mics and stuff.
Just the little things they talk about that are really, really important to an early filmmaker that a lot of people don't talk about.
Awesome program.
Anyways, so they did a workshop.
Cool.
It was out in the middle of nowhere, Utah. So it was a 2-day thing. I went and I got to meet them for the first time in person.
Oh,
that was a cool experience. But more so than that, I was blown away by how incredibly different their mindsets were compared to mine about the wedding industry.
Yeah.
It blew my mind again. My mind has been blown like 4 times at this point.
It's like every time you go to their course, you're just mind blown.
Every time I did something with them, it was incredible. And there was a room full of. I definitely was the smallest person in that room of like 20 filmmakers or 30 filmmakers or something.
Dang.
I was teeny.
Well, yeah, because they had like flying people in.
People flew. There was a girl that flew in from Switzerland.
Oh my gosh!
And she was incredible.
Yeah,
like that was phenomenal. Just be in a room full of filmmakers that
way above your pay grade.
Then this was the first time I was in a room full of people that were way above me.
Yeah,
I was outclassed big time. And that's another thing. That's another key point I would share with our listeners is whatever industry you're in, you don't want to be a big fish in a little pond. You want to be the littlest fish in a huge pond.
Yeah.
Because, and you want to, and another thing too is Parker's mentioned this, but it's not his quote.
Right.
You become the 6th person of the 5 people you hang out around most.
Yeah. Love that quote.
Yeah. So the rule is, and we'll touch on this very briefly, but if you're in a room full of alcoholics, if the 5 people you hang around the most are alcoholics, you're going to become the 6th.
Or gamers, you become a gamer.
If you're going to be around 5 gamers, you'll become the 6th. If you're around 5 millionaires, eventually you'll become the 6th.
Yeah. Just
because you listen to those people. And so now I'm surrounded by people who are significantly better than I am. Workshop went really, really well. I gained some awesome connections from that. I still talk to these connections.
Yeah.
Met Jake and Nate, who have incredible, incredible skills. And they're so they know a lot and they teach it. That's important. But I walked away from that workshop feeling like a new person, like I could actually do this. Yeah. So I filmed the rest of my 2023 season and I did my biggest wedding again. Right? So
how much we talking?
It was about $4,500.
Dang.
You actually were with me on this. It was Aaron and Grayson.
Oh, yeah. We should link it in like the YouTube video. Just give a quick sample.
Aaron and Grayson were super fun to work with.
That was
and the
fun.
planner too. I mean, yeah, again, just everything about this wedding was fabulous.
Well, because when you get to that stage, it's sort of like you do have where they're less worried about money and more quality, but you still don't really know who you're going to get.
Yeah. And my next, to give you a reference, like this wasn't a standout wedding for me. I also had another wedding just after that was $4,000.
Yeah.
$4,500 though was huge for me. And the wedding was a little bit nicer.
Oh.
Yeah. I'd been to weddings that were a little bit nicer. This one was a little nicer still. The way they had live musicians.
Well, we're working towards the Jackson.
We're working towards luxury, right? This wasn't luxury, but it was working that way. Higher end. Yes. Yeah. Still in a tent.
Yeah.
That's a popular thing out in Jackson, by the way, putting up a nice tent and just partying hard.
Oh, it was huge.
Yeah. Anyways, so wedding was super nice. Pretty nice. It was a very, very, very nice wedding and planned very, very well. We'll link the planner beneath. But again, amazing. I took that footage and I turned it I helped make a reel out of it. So now we're at the end of 2023, October. I went to another Runaway Vows workshop. It was on the Salt Flats, and we filmed it in like a little Italian villa in Utah.
For those who don't know, the Salt Flats is in Utah.
It's a beautiful expanse of just white ground.
You're going to have seen it in a lot of car commercials and stuff. You may not know what it is right away, but when you see it, you're like, oh yeah, I know that.
It was a beautiful, beautiful place to be.
Yeah.
And now I'm starting to shoot more luxurious looking things.
Right.
And so
It looked like such a cool
20,
workshop.
20, at the end of 2023, I got a reach out from a bride, and we won't name them, but
Right.
it was a big wedding at a big place. Dang. And it was a 3-day event, huge event.
3-day wedding?
3-day wedding.
Oh, that's huge.
Anyways, the total charge was $7,000. Again, mine is blown for like the 5th time here.
Yeah.
No one told me I could charge that.
Yeah.
No one told me I would even ever come close to being worth that.
Of course.
Right? So that was set for 2024. 2024 came around. I filmed less weddings. So 2021, I filmed 10 weddings. 2022, I filmed 20 weddings. That's how much I filmed. 2023, 15. 2024 was like 14, right? So I'm doing less and less, but I'm actually making more and more. 2024, I went to more workshops, including another one at the end to Ireland, which I posted a little bit about.
And these are all with Jake and Nate, right?
Not all of them, but some of my favorite ones were with them.
Yeah.
I would say they're the most notable. They were some of the most influential people in my life.
Right.
In creating.
But Ireland was theirs.
Ireland was huge.
Yeah.
So
Dude, Ireland, that's crazy.
Ireland was big. I'm so glad I went.
Probably $100 to go. No, I was kidding.
That was a lot of money to go.
But was it
so
worth it?
Absolutely worth it.
Well,
and that's another thing too. There's part of the mindset shift is you have to put yourself in the way of those higher end events.
Yeah.
They're not just going to fall into your lap. I intentionally went to workshops and got the content I needed to put that in front of planners who then put it in front of me.
So it wasn't just a purchase, it was an investment.
It was an
in
investment.
That workshop.
And it is an investment that was worth every cent.
Yeah.
Anyways, 2024 was very, 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 very different for me.
Okay.
It was hard.
How so?
Because there's a difference between working with the lower level budget clients who still have wonderful weddings and working with premium clients. So there are people who will name these categories. I'll name them like this. You have budget, you have standard, premium, and luxury. I'll keep it simple. I mean, I know people, I'm in programs that name them differently. Yeah. But that's just how it is,
I'd agree.
I won't even put numbers on them because there's a difference. But a lot of people confuse premium and luxury. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Most of what I film has been premium. I filmed a little bit of luxury recently.
Cool.
And I've got stuff on the schedule. However, there's a difference. And the clients at that level prefer a different experience. Right? Oh, yeah. They want more, generally speaking, want more hands off. They expect it to be good. They don't hire you because you're good. They don't hire you because you're good at what you do. They hire you because you're a good experience.
Yeah.
So also planners. So 2024, I started working with a lot more planners. I really screwed up a couple of relations early on because I didn't know how to work with them.
Yeah.
No one was talking about it.
It's different.
Yeah. Working with planners is a beast. When we talk about weddings, we'll talk about working with planners. Yeah. Because they're the go-to. They're the most influential people in the industry for getting clients, right?
Which is weird because as a videographer, right, you think it's the photographer or vice versa.
When you're starting out, you think that the photographers run the world because they're the ones who are usually hired first.
Yeah, or the opposite. Like if you're a photographer, you think it's the videographer.
I doubt that.
maybe not.
No, photographers always come before videographers. In fact, even in the higher world, they're usually paid almost double what the videographers are for the same amount of time.
But planners is where it's at.
So planners, they're all going to the planners to get their work. Yeah. So at this point, 2024, struggling a little bit, but getting paid well. Like average is like $4,000, $3,000, $4,000, some $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 weddings. Yeah. Again, massive. Good. So in early 2024, I did another coaching program. I've done many by this point. This one was the most investment for me, and it was with Jake and Nate. Oh. Yeah. And Yeah, and it was worth every penny. Yeah. And it was just a 12-week program. But man, it was awesome. I got to pick their brains so much. At the end of it, I was like, if there's anything I can do for you, I want to help you. I want to give back. I want to.
So this was one-on-one coaching.
Yeah.
Oh,
I want to work with you guys. I want to help you guys as best I can. Right. Little guy trying to help the big guys. It took a lot of courage for me to say that. But you're being genuine too. Genuine. I was being genuine. I really did. I wasn't trying to get something out of them. I really just wanted to know them better. I wanted to learn from them because I absorb what they say like a sponge. Everyone's got a mentor, right? So, so for Dan, it's Parker and Devin. It's Parker and Devin. He absorbs every single ounce of information that flows out of those people. For me, it's Jake and Nate because they're in my industry and they're not that far away from me. Yeah,
4 hours or so.
So, anyways, we talked a little bit and we ended up they ended up issuing an invitation for me to come shoot with them.
Oh, that's way cool.
I was not like even a second shooter. I was like a third shooter. I was like a creative anglist.
Yeah, but to be on set with them.
Right. So this changed this changed my mindset again because the way they shot, they were super relaxed but very focused.
Whoa.
And they focused a lot on the details without focusing on the wrong details. So for instance, this is very specific, okay? But I'm not used to paying that close attention. So they were filming the bride and the groom, and they told me to go shoot the venue, which was the Utah State Capitol. Gorgeous building. And so I also shot the ceremony site. Ceremony site just right there on the balcony. Gorgeous overview of the valley.
Oh yeah.
But I shot this ceremony site, and I thought I was doing a really, really, really good job. Benches everywhere, flowers everywhere. I mean, some of the best florals I'd ever seen.
Right.
And I got like 15 shots in. Jake comes over to me and he says, is that a tripod mic stand? So mic stands usually have a little base. Look, this is a base.
Yeah.
Okay. This thing had a tripod stand. And now that he mentioned it, I can't unsee it. It looks awful. But I hadn't even noticed that. And so Jake shot a lot of his own too. I don't think he refilms it, and I don't think they used anything that sucked from mine. They used some of my shots. Maybe to be nice. I don't know. But
well, that's what happens as like a shooter is like you get maybe 3 of your shots.
I was a third shooter too. I think I was unnecessary at that wedding, but they still brought me on. I was honored to be there.
Yeah.
How they did audio was different. How they did everything.
They're not going. That's what I'm saying. Like with a second shooter, whether it's them or us, or whatever. Like just expect like you're going to have a few shots. They're not going to use all of them.
Also, I think it's notable to say during this time, I also shot for Alex Pizarro.
Oh, cool.
We'll link him too. Rising star, man.
Dude, yeah.
Alex is incredible. He's again down in Utah. We're in Idaho, so it's like South Idaho, or they would call it North Utah.
Yeah.
Alex is incredible. Again, he bended my mind again.
Yeah.
So I came home from the experience with Jake and Nate feeling a little bit torn down, actually, because of how good they were what level they operated at. And I made that moment. I was like, you know what? This is going to be my year. Like 2024 is going to be my build year. 2025 is going to come out. It's going to come out of nowhere and just destroy.
You committed to it.
Yeah. It took me a little longer than I thought. I finished 2024, did some incredible weddings, went to the Ireland trip at the end of it with, again, the Runaway Vows and Emma Kay. Emma Kay Films, we'll link her profile. If you're a videographer, you need to follow her. If you're not, you still need to follow her.
Yeah.
Again, talented as ever. 2020, so end of 2024 comes around, and I am a little scared because I'm not booking what I think I am. I'm not booking a lot. I'm booking a lot of elopements. I'm getting nervous about the way my next year is looking. But I'm holding on. It was a tough financial year, right? So at the end of the year, I had spent a lot. I had spent tens of thousands of dollars on education in the year of 2024, and worth every penny. But I was hurting for cash pretty bad. So I took on a lot of elopements of people who they were good. I love filming elopements.
Oh, yeah.
But I may not have taken them on, honestly, if I hadn't been so strapped.
Yeah. You do what you got to do.
Yeah. And I've got some great elopements. I'm super pumped for my 2025 elopements.
Yeah.
Super pumped. They're so fun to shoot. Don't pay as much. Doesn't matter. They're not as hard.
But there's peaks and valleys, and when you're in valley, you take what you got.
I wouldn't even call them a valley. It's just not as big weddings. I need bigger weddings to survive.
Right.
Anyone does.
Yeah.
But early 2025, I get a message from a planner that I worked with in 2024 who's really impressed with my work.
Cool.
She said, and I quote, "You are a real pleasure to work with, and we'd like to work with you again. Here's a wedding that's happening in 2026. And it's a ways away. It's a long ways away. But we ended up signing for about $10,000.
Dude.
Again.
Mind blown.
No one told me I could charge that. I mean, I don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not obsessed with the money. I love what I do.
Right.
But I also need to live.
Yeah.
I need money to live. And being able to charge that for a wedding was so enlightening. And it felt good. You know?
To book a 10K wedding, yeah.
Yeah, I don't toot my own horn too much on that, but it really, really was that. It was a big deal to me.
Well, you look back to you when you were that first wedding, right? Where you're filming for your sister. It's in the bedroom, in the living room, and you're thinking, yeah, like, right? No one would ever have told you that you could reach that level.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wish someone had. I thought the pros were like, oh, that's 10K. That's like the most you can get. No, there's people shooting 30, 40, 50, 100K.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's pretty rare.
But
it happens.
But if you had known before, I bet you probably could have reached that even faster.
I don't know. Maybe. But
maybe not too faster, but I feel like you could have done it quicker if you'd known that was possible.
So this planner, and that's when I realized, at the end of 2024, I realized, okay, that's where it's at. It's at planners. And then early 2025, planners started bringing me some stuff. So now I have that. Now I have another wedding that's going to be 11.5K lined up.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. It's not signed yet, so I don't want to say much about it.
Yeah.
But like, it is a big wedding. I didn't just raise my prices. I raised the value. Well, we'll talk about that in a sec. But but I didn't just raise my prices during this whole time. I increased the value, and I picked a lot of creators' brains about this, right? I picked a lot of high-end wedding videographers' brains about how do you increase your price, and all of them had the same message. You can't just raise your price. You have to increase value. Well, most of them. There's one guy who believed a little differently, and I think he's great. But
well, you also mentioned I think a key moment there too. I think starting out, at least beginning, most people just sort of like, I'm going to raise my price because I can, or I think I should.
Yeah.
You asked others around you in the industry, what should I do, or
what do I need to do? And most of them said, you need to increase your value. Whether that's a better film, which is kind of a given. It's a low. You should be doing that anyways.
Yeah.
But increasing your experience, what's included, what's your minimums, what's your, what do these people get? Not only that, but your experience to work with.
Yeah. And that's like the onboarding too, the Zoom calls before, like so not just day
my
of.
wedding that's signing for like hopefully signing for 11.5K. It is my biggest wedding yet, but it's also going to be some of the most work I've done. Yeah. Most, not totally, right? But it's going to be a lot of work. It's a multi-day event, very, very busy. Lots of deliverables in there.
Yeah. 5 team members.
Yeah. So that brings us to where we are now. 2025, not the year I expected it to be, but a good year.
Yeah.
My biggest weddings I booked, though, are in 2026.
Dude.
So, I won't name who did this, but recently someone who I really look up to actually sent me some referral work.
Oh, cool.
And we're working on signing it right now. But to get leads from people who I look up to, it makes me feel like, hey, I've worked hard for the last 5 years, and I haven't made it, but I've succeeded.
Yeah, you've put in the 10,000 hours.
There are so many instances where I could have failed. Okay, financially, marketing, anything I have done in the past, all the failures, any one of them could have tanked me.
Oh yeah,
but they didn't. And I think the moral of the story to learn here, and if I could say one thing from my experience, is don't settle. You could be great. You could start charging what you want. You think you should, $2,500 or whatever for weddings or whatever project, but don't stop learning.
Yeah,
you know, it's a big deal to me when I hear about someone who has been in the same boat for like the last 5-6 years, charging the same amount, not able to film what they want or shoot what they want, or they're not getting enough, or they're a starving artist. It hurts to hear that, because I know the key to success is just pushing through.
Yeah.
But the other part of it is improving, actively seeking to improve on what you're doing so that you can reach those higher paying clients. You can reach the jobs that you want to do.
Yeah. And all the people that we know locally or nationally, right? They all seem to have that trait where they're like we talked about this, I think, in the first episode a little bit, where between millionaires and billionaires, right? Millionaires are kind of like, oh, I've made it. And billionaires are like, I'm still learning. I'm still learning how to make it.
Yeah. And again, that's not like that's not the hard rule, but it's absolutely the case. Like,
they're just thirsty for more.
The people who are making it in this world aren't settling.
Yeah.
Right? Those are the people we look up to in the world. And I don't view myself as someone to look up to necessarily, but I do see my experiences, and I do want to help. That's partially why I wanted to start this podcast, is because I get hit up frequently with DMs from friends and other people in this industry, and other people even not in this industry, asking what did I do? Like, how am I getting this kind of success? And a lot of times I tell them it's because I failed so much. It's because I learned.
Great marketing.
I couldn't have asked for a different experience.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go back and undo my failures, even if I could. just because it is where I am now.
Yeah. Your failures and your successes make you who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the next episode, we're going to talk a lot about weddings specifically. Again, we're talking to creators, so this will apply to a lot of them. But if you're a photographer, videographer, florist, designer, or DJ or whatever it is, whatever your creative passion is, you're going to come in contact with weddings eventually. You don't have to do them.
Right.
You may not like them, but I'll tell you what, some of the most successful people in this industry have at least spent significant time in weddings.
Yeah.
So please understand, you don't have to do weddings, but you should at least know where it fits into the industry.
At least shadow.
Yeah.
So I mean, it may be free work, but like you get to sample it.
Yeah, and I didn't mention this, but around 2022, this is where Dan came into my life here. So, 2022, I was charging like $1,500. I was learning.
About average for the area.
Yeah, it was a big year for me. 20 weddings in a year. That's so hard.
Yeah.
That's my max. I will never do that. I'll probably never do more than 20 again. Probably never more than like 16 again, to be honest.
Typically as a solo.
So I'm almost booked out this year too, just because of that.
Yeah, but as a solo wedding filmmaker, like 20 is hard.
Yeah, 20 is hard. So Dan came out at a wedding and he shot with me. He offered to do it for free.
It was bad.
He was fresh off the block with a Sony A7S III, which I don't know that you'd ever used before.
No.
Not throwing you under the bus.
I literally, I hadn't.
We can cut
I mean,
this.
I didn't practice. Like I did.
Yeah.
I'd had it for 4 or 5 months, but again, I hadn't, and I've gone out and done some shots, but I didn't really know what I was shooting.
Yeah. Do you mind if I embarrass you for a second?
Go for it.
I can cut it out if it's too much.
No, roast me.
It was funny because actually at the wedding I brought him out to, it was just a little wedding at a barn. It was a
Gorgeous little venue.
It was a gorgeous little venue. It's still there. It's out in Blackfoot. Dan came out and he was so noob. I think he actually touched. You actually touched with your finger or something on accident the sensor of your camera. Yeah. Little fingerprint. He's out there trying to clean it without the right gear.
All the photo videographers right now just cringing
like,
when they listen to this. Yeah.
That was a weird wedding, but it was a good wedding still. Yeah. His footage was, I don't think I used any of it.
You used one shot.
I used your ceremony.
It was the ceremony, yeah.
Dan
and that's
went,
okay. He shouldn't have used any.
Dan went and got good after that. Took him a year.
Yeah.
And I brought him back on. But Dan actually, the reason, I think we'll talk more about Dan in a couple episodes too.
Yeah, I'll have my
One
episode.
of the big reasons why Dan is here doing this podcast is because he actually puts in the work. We all failed.
I mean, I do as a big guy too. No
Yeah.
excuse for anyone else. I'm a staple of marshmallow, man.
Dan works hard, and that's a lot of people. I would say 7 out of 10 people lack the willingness to put in the work.
Yeah.
That slowed me down a lot. The willingness to put in the work. I still managed to put in enough to actually make it happen. But Dan has outworked everyone I know.
Thank you.
We're going to talk more about that later, again, his story, but you need to listen when he talks because it is a big deal. Actually putting in the work makes all the difference.
Thank you.
So,
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Well, guys, this has been a great episode. I've embarrassed myself and Dan, I think, enough. We'll close it out.
Yeah.
But moral of the story that I would teach again, put in the work, learn from your failures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great story. Awesome.
So,
thank you for sharing.
yeah, guys. We're going to come back next week. We'll talk about weddings.
Yeah, next week we're going to talk about how to book your first wedding and more about weddings.
And if you've already booked your first wedding, we're going to talk about how to get to kind of where I am to an extent. Early levels, but still.
And with that said, I also want to just reiterate, like you said too, we're going to do more than just weddings. We'll talk real estate. We'll talk commercials. Like we want to make this broad for everybody.
I'll be talking a lot about weddings next week, but then we'll talk more about business. Dan's done more business, so in a couple of weeks he'll talk to us about business. Yeah. So, guys, it's been a pleasure to be here. If you have any thoughts, questions, or concerns, drop them in the comments. Send us a DM. Send us an email. We want to hear from you. So, okay.
See you guys.
See you guys.